Hey guys, Mr. Thaxton here. I hope all of you are having a great day and are ready to learn about fractions today. Anytime I teach about fractions, it's amazing how much you already know about fractions that maybe you don't even know that you know. So we're just going to take it step by step and go through a few different things and activities today. You will have to pause this video throughout so that you'll have time to do the steps that I'm telling you. The sub will pause the video and make sure you have enough time to finish it. But today, when we're talking about fractions, I want you to first think about a candy bar. And as soon as I said candy bar, a certain kind of candy bar came to mind. You might like Hershey's, you might like Snickers, Butterfingers, Paydays, Almond Joys. There's a whole bunch of different candy bars you might like. Anytime I think about fractions, I think about a certain candy bar because when I taught third grade a long time ago, I did an activity with a Hershey bar. So when I look at a Hershey bar, and this is a giant one, so when I think about Hershey, it's about making s'mores or something fun like that. When we look at this, we're like, oh, that is a whole candy bar. It's not open; it's still in the package. Every bit of the candy bar is there. And then if I say, okay, if I had a candy bar and I said, okay, we need to split this candy bar up so we can share it, right? Since it's a giant one, there's enough for everybody. Well, we would have to give each person a piece of it. And if I gave one person a piece that was bigger than the other person, people wouldn't be happy about it. So we have to make the pieces even. Another word for piece is a fraction. So, for example, if I said, okay, I want a fraction of that Hershey bar, that's the same thing as saying I want a piece of that fraction of that, a piece of that Hershey bar. So when we open it up from the wrapper, of course, it looks something like this. And I couldn't find a big one, so I have three small ones there. So I have a total of 3 candy bars right here. And as you can see, it's broken up into pieces, and and they are fractions of the candy bar. One whole candy bar is a whole one. But if I start breaking pieces off, it is no longer a whole. So the one thing I like about these candy bars is it does all the work for me. It's already in equal pieces. That's the one thing that you need to remember when we're dealing with fractions is they're equal pieces of a whole. So what does that mean? Well, let's do an activity to help us out. Right now, I would like for you to take the piece of paper that the sub is passing out to you, and there are slips of paper, or you're going to make slips. So what I want you to do is take out your scissors, and I want you to cut those into the separate pieces. So when you're done, you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pieces. When you're done, put your scissors down, and then we'll move on. So pause the video now. When everybody's done, restart the video. Okay, so you should be done, and now you have your 8 slips of paper. I want you to put them in a pile, but take one of them. And mine are still connected, obviously, but we're going to start with just one, the first one. You're going to you can use a marker or you can use your pencil. And in the middle of the first one, I would like for you to write. We got to find my drawing tool. I'd like for you to write 1. Don't you like my writing? 1 whole. So if this was a picture of the candy bar, it would be the whole candy bar. So it would be before we broke it up into pieces. All right. So the first one's 1 whole. Now, the next one that you have is, now let's pretend that we're going to take this candy bar and we are going to divide it. And we're going to break it up into 2 equal pieces. So what you would do is you would cut it in half. Well, we aren't going to cut it in half. We want to show it the middle mark. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the 2 ends, fold it together equally, put a crease in it, open it back up, and then draw a line down the middle. So when you are finished with it, the middle of the thing should be, there should be a line right here. And on one side, I want you to write 1/2. And if this is 1/2, on the other side, I want you to write 1/2. So if you need to pause the video during this part to make sure we get this done, we should have 1 whole, and then you should have 1 that is broken up into 2 halves. So if we look at it, 2 halves equals 1 whole. So pause it now and make sure everybody's up to that point. All right, so we've done that. Now we're going to take our next slip. So we're on slip number 3, and we are going to want to take a whole candy bar and divide it into 4 equal parts. So how would I do that? I want you to take the slip, fold it in half like you were making the 2 halves, and then fold that again. When you do that, it should open up. There should be 4 places, and then just put the line down the middle. So when the middle line, if you lined it up, will be in the same place as the half. But then that's taking the halves and dividing it in half. And mine are not quite equal, but they are close there. And these equal, what would the fraction be? That's right, 1/4. So we got a 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, and 1/4. Well, 1/2 is a half of something. 1/4 is a quarter of something. An easy way to remember this is how many quarters are in a dollar? So 4. So there's 4 quarters in a whole. A whole dollar, there's 4 quarters. So here, another word that you could write here is quarter. I'm gonna write it. I'm gonna do a text box though. It's not gonna let me paste it. So anyways, I will get that added in there in a minute. So we have a quarter. Which I have 4 quarters, which if I have it lined up, it equals 1 whole or 2 halves. So what would be the next one? Let's get a little bit harder. So we doubled it each time. We went from 1 to 2 to 4. Let's go to 8. So 8, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to divide the paper into a half. And then you're going to divide the paper again. And then you're going to divide it again. So your paper will be really tiny. And in the end, I have right here, so this would be 1/8. This would be 1/8, and so on. So pause the video now and continue. I want you to make sure you have the 4ths done and the 1/8 done. Okay, so now that you have that done, once again we have a whole, which a whole is equal to two halves, which is equal to 4 quarters, which is equal to 8/8. And now, if we're getting bigger, what would come after that? 1, 2, 4, 8. That's right, 16. So what I did, if you see my green lines, they match. If I count it right now, I have that broken into 8ths. So to break it up into 16th, you're just dividing all of those pieces in half equally. So you can do that by folding it up, this slip of paper, fold it in half again, fold it in half again, and fold it in half again, and you will have 16ths when you open it back up. So if I do that on mine, I'm just dividing all of these in half. So pause this video here and get this one into 16ths. Okay, so as you see, I'm broken it up in 16th, and you're going to write 1/16 in all of those different places there. Then, once you finish that one, we're going to kind of switch gears. We're not going to go into 30 seconds. That would be forever and would be so tiny, it'd be hard to write and notify anything. But if I did 30 seconds, I would just take all of these different ones and break it in half again. So instead of that, now let's change it up just a little bit. I want you to take this next slip of paper, and I want you to think about this. I want you to think okay, I have a candy bar, and we are going to share this between 3 people. So you're going to take your paper, you're going to take the 2 ends, and when you take the 2 ends, meet them into the middle, and then fold it down. When you open it back up, you will see that it has 3 equal pieces. And so you'll have a candy bar, or in this case a slip of paper, broken up into thirds. Obviously, it's a little easier when you're dealing with halves, but we use thirds a good bit as well in math. And think about this. When I did the half, I did it twice, and I got 2 pieces. On the 4th, I folded it twice, and I got 4 pieces. So for the thirds, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to break these in half. So if this is a third, a 6th would be just breaking these into equal pieces. So this is 1/6. This is 1/6. And this is 1/6. Ooh, ugly 6 there. 1/6. A lot harder on a computer than on paper. And 1/6. And 1/6. So we've used 7 of the different ones. And if you look at it, they are all in order. So if I pull up this one right here, if you're looking at it, you see that we have, let's see if we get a pop up right here. We have a whole, half, quarters, 8, 16th, 1/3, and 1/6. So even though they're broken up in different pieces, when they're all put together, when I have 6 1/6, I have a whole. When I have 3 1/3, I have a whole. When I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 Pieces, 1/16, you put them together, it's one whole. Eights, you have 8 1/8, a whole. 4/4 equals a whole. And 2/2 equal a whole. So when you are thinking about fractions, they are just a piece of something that is a whole. So we have one slip of paper left. I want you to come up with your own fraction and break up the piece into equal pieces based off your fraction. Do that now, and when everybody's done, press play again. Okay, great. I hope this was a good example of showing you how fractions are connected to a whole and how the pieces are connected together to make a whole, and that you can take halves of something and break it up into fourths. And as we move into more of this talking about fractions over the next week or so, I'm hoping that you'll gain a better understanding of it. Yesterday, we talked about the word equivalent. What does the word equivalent mean? Well, when I hear the word equivalent, I immediately hear, if I could spell it right, that would help. Equivalent, I hear the word equal. So when you hear the word equal, I think of something being equal. So if I have a candy bar, I want an equal amount. I want the same amount as the person that is next to me. So when I have equivalent fractions, they are fractions that equal the same amount. Yesterday, you had an activity or a worksheet that you completed where you had to tell me if these are equivalent pictures. And really, there are fractions. So if I look at it, this is 1, 2, 3 shaded. And so this is 3. And the total number is 6. So this is fraction 3/6. And this one is the fraction 2/4. So we need to know, is this an equivalent fraction? Well, looking at this picture, half of it is shaded here and half is shaded there. So yes, it is equal. Well, you can also look at it here as well. 3 is half of 6 and 2 is half of 4. So that's an easy way for you to check it. Let's look at this next one. This next one, we have 1 shaded, so that's my top number. And the bottom number is the total pieces, which is 3. So I have 1/3, and then this one I have 4 shaded, and a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Make sure my math's right. 8 total pieces. So if I put these together, 1/3 and 4/8, 4/8 is the same thing as half. If I move this piece here and this piece here, I have 4 that are shaded and 4 that are not. Well, this are breaking into thirds. So if we go back to our chart, we go back to this, and I'm looking at if I'm looking at a 4/8, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's right here. And you take the 1/3, which is right here. So if you put those next to each other, which one's bigger? Is it this one or is it this one? That's right. So the 4/8 is bigger than the 1/3. So I'm going to say that's not equal. And I can also say that this one is greater. So I did that symbol. What I want you to do is I want you to go through the rest of these. Actually, let's just do the next four, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and go with the sub and go over those using your slips of paper to check your to check and see what your answer would be. Okay, so obviously two of these have fractions that we could use our slips for, numbers 3 and number 5. So if you took 3 and 5, you should see that, um, uh, I'm sorry, number 3, a half is equal to 5/10. And the way that I know that that's equal is because 1 is half of 2 and 5 is half of 10. So that's an easy way to do it, but also if you see those, they're the same. This one is the same thing, where it's a little bit different, where it's not half of something, but 6 is half of 12. So if I have 1/6, if I multiply 6 by 2, and the top by 2, so I have 1 times 2 is 2, 6 times 2 is 12. That makes them equal as well. So we'll get more into that later. But the main thing I want you to know is that equivalent fractions are where they're different fractions, but they equal the same amount. So hopefully this was just a good little review over fractions. You probably knew most of this stuff that we were talking about today. I am going to be done with this video in just a minute. When the video is over, I would like for you to work on the following problems from the worksheet, and you will turn that in when you are done. I hope all of you have a great day. If you have any questions, feel free to ask the sub. If not, feel free to ask me when I return. Have a great day. Bye.